Welcome to an all spooky season edition of Roundtable Mindset,
where we're serving up all things spooky and Halloween for the month of October, and we're going to be dishing up perspectives on topics that we normally do not dare touch.
Well, hello and welcome back to Roundtable Mindset. This is Jamie.
And I'm Mahlon.
And we're back for a spooky episode of Roundtable Mindset.
Ooh. I love this time of year. I love October. I love Halloween. I love the decorations. I love the weather. There's not much about this time of year and the October time frame that I'm not going to enjoy.
I completely agree, with the exception of the new puppy, because I have to talk about the new puppy, right? All he does is eat leaves, and there's barely any that have fallen so far. So I'm a little worried that as this whole, progression happens, that my dog's going to be getting too much fiber in his diet or something. So that should be fun. But otherwise, yes, it's all great. It's great.
I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I hope you give your dog a laxative. I don't know what to say.
I don't have to. The leaves are going to do it for us.
Give him some cheese. I don't know. That's funny.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yes. So for today's episode, we have, again, to follow that theme that you've just mentioned, we do have a special guest that we'll get on to a little bit later, and we'll introduce her in just a few minutes. But Jamie, what about a food for thought? Do you have something for us to chew on today?
I do. In keeping with the whole spooky season, I thought we could talk about things that give us goosebumps or cause that whole ick factor. You know what I mean? Like those normal everyday things that other people are like, really? But they totally creep you out. Oh,
okay. So I have one immediately when you said that. I had it in my mind's eye, and it's going to sound like the stupidest thing in the world, but we have a cat. And this cat could give two craps about anything that's going on. I mean, I could be banging a drum in the house. I could step on it and it'd be like, yeah, get off of me, whatever. And I tell you what creeps me out the most is when my cat will wake up or will look into the room and then pay attention, and you peek around the corner and there's nothing there. Like, this cat doesn't pay attention to anything. And then suddenly it's like, I see something that's standing right beside you or right into the kitchen where you can't see. And that that just creeps me out. Like, the hairs on my arms kind of stand up, because then I'm like, is the cat able to see something or somebody that I can't? And when this cat does it, when I'm by myself, it intensifies tenfold, because I'm like, there's nobody else that can help me if it's just me, this cat, and whatever this cat can see. I know it sounds stupid, but it makes my hair stand up every single time this cat does it.
Do you think that the cat knows this and
it's
is
just
playing on that?
It's just messing with me.
Yeah. I mean, I've met your cat. He could be messing with you.
It could be that I just have a butthole of a cat. You're right. That's very true. But I tell you, there's sometimes when he'll do it and sometimes when he won't. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I have others, but what about you? Is there anything that you're thinking of when you ask that question?
Yes. When I wake up in the middle of the night and it's 3:20 anything. Every time.
3:20 anything?
3:20 in the morning, 3:21, 3:27. It doesn't matter. If it's 3:02 something, I'm instantly creeped out.
That's interesting. Do you know why?
It's the witching hour. Did you ever watch? Okay, there was a show on Annie. I think it was Annie, called Paranormal State. Do you remember that?
I do.
Well, they used to talk all the time about 3:20 was like the witching hour, because I think, if I remember correctly, they said it was because Jesus died at 3:20 in the afternoon. So the antithesis of that would be 3:20 a.m. And that's when all of the evil spirits roam free, right? Well,
as you just casually throw that out, like everybody should know that.
Right. Well, but here's the thing. Nobody else knows that. So it is literally burned in my brain so that if I wake up at around that time, I'm instantly freaked out. It does not matter how bad I have to go to the bathroom. I am not moving from that space. And the worst is when I have to take the dog out or something and realize it's 3:20 something. And then I'm just convinced that the evil spirits are all going to follow me back in the house. And I am awake for the rest of the night because this is how my imagination works.
Well, now I'm going to have that because now I'm terrified 3:20 is going to come around and I'm going to be awake.
Well, and it's weird because it happens, like for me, it happens in like a cycle. I am absolutely convinced it's because I go to bed at the same time and 3:20 is the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that when it happens in a cycle, it's because I'm in a pattern. But it doesn't matter in the middle of the night when that happens that I cannot think logically that it's just time for me to wake up and go get a drink or whatever.
I was going to say, it doesn't sound like you recognize that logically because it's creeping you out. It's giving you that factor. Yeah. When do you wake up at 3:20?
Yes.
So not a lot of people that listen to us know this yet because I haven't revealed it about myself, but I have issues with electronic devices, right? I have my entire life. Jamie, you've witnessed some of the strange stuff that happens to me. But another thing that weirds me out and kind of gives me that feeling is there will be times when electrical devices will turn on or will turn off when I'm around consistently. One of which is I've convinced myself it's because it's breaking down. It needs to be replaced. But it just happened to me 2 days ago when I was making lunch. Suddenly my vent for my oven just turned on. I was cooking. I didn't turn it on. It just turned on.
Shut up.
I'm not lying. I am not lying. And so I'm sitting there and I'm trying to hit the fan button to shut it off and it won't shut off. And I'm like, okay. So I'm cooking. This fan's going off. And then about a minute into, just as easy as it turned on, it just turned off. And I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to shuffle that kind of stuff away into my mind to say, okay, there's a logical explanation to why that just happened. It's faulty, it's old, it's wearing down, like I said. But when stuff like that happens, it always makes me pause and go, okay, is there some thing here with me that's just messing with me, like hitting the button or...
You're trying to make it logical, and the truth of the matter is you obviously have a poltergeist attached.
I'm glad you went there. That gives me comfort. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Oh my goodness. No, but I think that's a really good question around what does make us feel weird, or feel that creepy feeling. And by myself, if I'm by myself in the dark, I just naturally start, if I stop and think about it, if I'm going about my house and it's dark and I'm the only one there and I'm doing stuff, it's not really bothering me. But the moment I stop and say, I'm by myself in the dark, my hairs on the back of my neck start raising up just because I don't know if it's that awareness that I am utterly alone and in this dark house or what it is, but that's another trigger for me.
Open windows at night, like no blinds. And again, it goes back to these old paranormal shows that I used to watch all the time and me thinking like the spirit is outside my window watching me. It creeps me out. You know, Mahlon, this has been a really great
Jamie's
window.
Like, I'm pulling the ripcord. This is too much. I can't talk about this anymore.
No, because now I'm going to be, and you know, as I'm here visiting you, banished to the really creepily dark basement, I probably shouldn't be talking about these things that are going to creep me out. Because watch, I'll wake up at 3:20 this morning.
Oh, I can guarantee you'll be waking up at 3:20 with either myself or one of my kids making sure you wake up at 3:20. Maybe tickling your feet, just being like, ooh.
What a friend.
I know. But what's kind of interesting is this all kind of comes along with the guest that we have with us and the topic that we're going to be talking about.
Tell me about our guest.
It's almost like by design. So today we have Melissa with us, and I'm not going to lie. Jamie, you were there, but I met Melissa on the phone a couple days ago when we were prepping for this, and I was doing, I hate the word fangirling, but I don't know what else to call it. Like I was not, I don't know, was I starstruck?
Hardcore.
I was really impressed to talk to them Because
it was hilarious.
because Melissa and her sister Steph, they have a podcast themselves, and it is called Weirdsdale. And I found it, and I just fell in love with their humor, the topic, how they interact with each other. And the more I listen, the more I'm like, okay, this is really good stuff. And, you know, I can be hypercritical now that we've started a podcast. And so I was listening and I was like, how are they doing their production? How does the dynamic between the co-hosts, how are they doing all that? That's how I started. And I quickly fell into love with this podcast from the content perspective, the interactions, the humor. There's several times that they say something and I just smile to myself because I'm like, that is hilarious. As you know, being in the podcasting space, I feel like I know Melissa and her sister. So to have Melissa on here, I'm like, Melissa, we're old friends. Let me talk about it. And she's like, I've just met you 30 seconds ago. And so
is that the feeling that gives you the creeps, Melissa?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Malin, every time I'm talking to Malin, I'm a little creeped out.
No, this is amazing. I'm loving this. I think my cheeks are red. I'm so like flattered. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So Melissa, I do say that. I'm like, and for everybody else listening, I was talking to Melissa just a few minutes ago before we started, and I was like, I'm kind of upset because I've almost listened through all the episodes, and I've been so spoiled because I've just been able to listen as I wanted to, and now I'm like, oh, I have to wait till they get released. Like, oh, it's killing me. But it's such a good podcast, and I really have been enjoying it. So, yeah. So welcome, Melissa. Welcome to the roundtable.
Thanks.
We're excited to have you on.
Yay, I'm excited too. Thank you.
So, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say, Malin, she's here. What do you want to say?
I know. So your podcast has, of course, the name Weirdsdale. It has how I'm interpreting and how I've been listening to your episodes. You cover a variety of different unique topics. True crime has been one of them. You've listened to, I've listened to some episodes that deal with the paranormal, UFOs. Some of it is just, my mouth is open. We talked about the black-eyed children that you had an episode on where I'm just like, I can't even look outside my kitchen window when I'm doing dishes at night anymore because I'm afraid one of them is going to be looking back at me. So thank you for that.
Don't answer
That's
the door.
already a thing for me. I cannot. What episode is this? Because I don't know that I can go through that one.
Don't tell her because I want her to go through it because she needs to go through it.
Shut up.
You'll be scared. Like if you're ever in your car at night and it's dark out and you stop and you just feel like a little bit weird because you can't really see out the window. That's when you'll know.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I will come back at the end, wish you well, and no, just kidding. I can't listen.
Done.
So tonight we're going to go out with some friends for dinner. And when we're done, Melissa, now I'm going to drive Jamie through the old Des Moines cemetery with her lights off, just so she can experience some of that.
Yes, that's so good.
Some of that weirdo. No,
So
but
good.
I thought it'd be really good to kind of bring you on, and of course we would love to have your sister Steph here, but I know she can't make it. But it would be great to kind of just talk with you a little bit about, it's spooky season, October, just some of the paranormal experiences. Maybe we can, listen to some of the things that you've researched or some of the things that you've experienced. I have a story that I'd like to share. Jamie, I think you said you have something. I just wanted to bring you on and just kind of talk about, I'm going to take a page from your podcast, a Weirdster, like just talk about some of those stuff that's really kind of odd and interesting.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's my favorite thing. We call it, my sister and I, well, she's in Disney World right now, by the way. She just up and left me like a jerk. Stephanie, just kidding. But we
Stephanie,
call
if you're
our
listening to this, we're jealous. We're jealous of you right now.
Yeah. I'm mad. No, but we call our listeners and each other weirdsters, like sisters, weirdsters. And I just love talking about weird things. I feel like we all should just be able to talk about these things that we probably all think about, but maybe we're afraid to say. I'm that person who I hate small talk. I want to know first thing. I want to be like, hey, I'm Melissa. What's the weirdest thing you saw today? Or what's the weirdest thing you've done this week? Like, that's what I want to know. So I'm always looking for, like you said, paranormal, true crime. Now the true crime, that's a little bit harder for me. I much would rather do the paranormal and the cryptids and the monsters and just creepy things. That is my favorite. But yeah, I love it. So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I really am. So maybe we can start off, if you guys don't mind. I'd like to share my experience, and I want to paint the picture, and then maybe we can talk about that for just a little bit. But I haven't spoken about this to a lot of people just because, I'm afraid there's that stigma that goes along with, oh, you believe in the paranormal, and that, that by itself makes me an odd person, at least growing up it did. Then you put on there the fact that I'm a Christian and I believe in the supernatural. I believe in the spiritual realm and the ghost and all of that. So then you start getting, side eyes from those groups of people that are like, oh, you really do? But here's my experience. And I think personal experience means a lot because I can't explain this away. And I come from a small town, Melissa, and there was this house that was behind a grocery store that I used to live in. And if you can picture in your mind what an iconic haunted house looks like, it would be the outside of this house. It was 2 stories. It was old. I wouldn't call it Victorian, but it was Victorian-esque. It was all wood floors. It was very, built in, I think it was like the 1880s or something. I mean, it was a long time ago. Didn't have the greatest, heating and air. And the basement, this was the weirdest thing. The basement had an all dirt floor. So there was no cement. And I hated going down into that basement. And that's where we put all of our Christmas decorations and stuff. And of course, my parents would be like, hey, you kids go down, get those decorations and bring them up. And I always hated going down there just because who ever saw a basement with a dirt floor before? It was just creepy.
Ooh, that is creepy.
Yeah.
You're like, what's under this dirt?
Yeah, I know. I was like, can we, as an adult, I'm like, a cadaver dog needs to go in there somewhere and just make sure everything's fine, because I'm like,
oh my gosh,
nobody needs a dirt basement or a dirt floor in their basement.
I feel like if I bought a house like that now as an adult, that's the first thing I would do. I'd be like, get a dog in here because I can. Yeah.
Right? Be like, I need evidence that this is fine. So I was a kid. I was probably, if I look back, I was probably 5, 6. I don't think I was 7. So I was between 5 or 6, and I think I was kind of closer to 6. And I was still kind of scared of the dark. And I always told my family, hey, when you guys go to bed, if I fall asleep, wake me up so I can go to bed, because I didn't want to go up into my dark room by myself. And I sure as heck didn't want to stay in the dark living room, wake up and nobody's there and I'm by myself. Well, true to my family being supportive of me, they, of course, ignored all of my wishes. And there was one night I was asleep on the sofa in the living room in this house. And I woke up and I looked across and it was dark. And so I sat straight up and I'm like, okay, nobody's here. And where I was sitting on the couch, directly across from me was this huge archway which led out of the living room into the dining room. And beyond that was my parents' master bedroom, because the master bedroom was on the same floor as the dining room, kitchen, living room. And I remember looking down and out of the archway into my parents' room, and we had a chair that was sitting right next to the arch. And in it was this white figure that was just sitting there. And I can't say that the white was hurting my eyes, but I also can't make out any discernible features, right? Like I can tell it was a person. I can't tell you if they had long flowing hair or if they were bald or if they were a man or a woman. I can just see it's glowing. So I can tell it's light-ish, but I can't tell any features. And all of a sudden I sit up and I pull my feet around and they're sitting on the floor and my heart is going 100 miles an hour. Like it's just beating like crazy. And I'm looking at this figure and this figure's looking at me, and I stand up and its head follows me. Now, mind you, I have to run past this thing in this chair to get out of the living room, through the dining room, to get into my parents' bed. So I'm sitting there I'm standing there, and I'm getting the courage, and I start running. And as I start running, I'm keeping eye contact with this thing, and it's just following me. It's just with its eyes and its head just tracking me. And as I ran past it, I'm like just going as fast as I can. I look back over my shoulder as I'm going through the dining room, about ready to jump into my parents' bedroom and into their bed. And I look back, and this head of this thing is peeking around the corner, watching me.
No.
And I jump into my parents' bed and throw the covers over me. And the next thing I know, it's morning, and they're asking me, why are you in our bedroom? And of course, I tell everybody and they think I'm crazy. And I told a few people outside of my family and they think I'm crazy. So I've kind of not said anything to anybody for a long time. I've told some people my story when you can tell they're open to hear it. But that has been by far the most, I would say, incredible, supernatural experience. But I've never experienced anything like that since. But I can't explain it. I don't know what it was.
That is wild. Well, you definitely saw a ghost. 100%. No other explanation needed.
Or it's the poltergeist that's attached.
Hold on.
Thanks, Jamie.
Poltergeist too?
No.
Okay.
Now Jamie's just hoping for hope. She's like, let there be a poltergeist. Let there be a poltergeist.
Oh my gosh.
But do you really? I've always said that it was a ghost, but I'm like, I don't know if anybody died in that house. I've never experienced, like I said, anything. I lived in that house for a while after. Nothing like that ever happened again. So it's like
I have a question for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you 100% sure you were actually awake?
So that is what my family asked. And I would say, yes, I was. And people are like, no, you just were, sleeping. I don't sleepwalk. In my entire life, I have never left rooms before to where I would be asleep in the living room or my bedroom and wake up in the living room. Like that has never happened. Plus, there was the only time that I lost time, I guess, is when I jumped into my parents' bed, and the next thing I know, it was morning. So somehow I fell back asleep, which sounds very uncharacteristic of somebody who just saw what they saw. But I also was so terrified that I just wanted to be safe within my parents' room. And for some reason, I felt if I got into my parents' room, I was protected, and then I was fine. But I don't think I was sleeping.
I feel really bad for your brother and sister because you just left them. Like,
they were there.
You just left them to deal with.
You missed the part, Jamie, where they all left me in the living room. So I'm like, every man for themselves. Every man for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's absolutely fair.
And you were 5? Come on, parents. What are you doing? Oh, man. No, I fully believe that. And you said that you don't know if anyone died there. I personally don't think that has to be. I know that's kind of the first thing that everyone thinks when they see a ghost or they hear of a place that's haunted is like, did someone die here? And I think, that definitely can cause a haunting, but I don't think that is something that's required. I mean, of course, if you're living in a house that's 200 years old, not 200, but 150 or 100 years old, I mean, people die in their houses a lot. I know that sounds really awful to say, but they do. Chances are high that probably did happen, and you just wouldn't know about it. But I also think that just a lot of places can be full of energy and, things can come and go. I personally think that. I know that sounds like so creepy to think like something just stopped by to say, hey, I think that's possible, really. And especially if you're a kid too, you always hear kids are more open to things like that. Like, of course they have bigger imaginations too, but I really do think that kids are more open to that. So as you grew older and matured and kind of blocked off that part of your open mind, then you wouldn't see things like that again. So maybe that was your moment. Someone was just saying, hey, do you remember how it made you feel? Besides scared, did you feel like, you were going to die? Or did it feel like, okay, I'm going to be okay if I can get past this, like no big deal?
So, and that's what's weird. So it's really interesting that you asked that, because the way I've explained that to other people in the past is I didn't feel like it was trying to hurt me. I felt like it was watching me. Yeah. Do I want to go as far as saying it was there to protect me? I don't know if I felt protection. I was obviously scared and startled and was like, I don't know what this thing is. And I didn't want to be alone in the dark for this very reason. And now this very reason is looking at me. Yes. But I never felt like it was going to hurt me. I just felt like it was there watching me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like it was just curious. Maybe it was just seeing like, hey, what's up with this thing here? I also think, oh gosh, there's so much I could say. Sometimes I feel like, without getting into the old time parallel universes time overlap thing, because then I'm like, pff. But sometimes I think that maybe you can just catch a little glimpse of something that had happened in that place so long ago, except they could see you too. So maybe not. Gosh, I don't know. You got
Well,
my brain turning. That's crazy.
Well, and again, Jamie mentioned some paranormal story or shows in the Food for Thought segment, and I watch those too. And all the time that they've caught paranormal or they've caught a ghost, I've never known or heard anybody say that they were being interacted with in that way where it was like you said, they obviously saw me. I could see them. We made eye contact and then they followed me with their eyes and their head. So then it's like, to me, that felt like it was more intelligent than just an apparition or leftover residue of some energy. And as the adult self, and I'm going back to one of the episodes I heard from you. I can't remember which one. I've went through a lot in the last few weeks, but you talked about there was a portal in one of your episodes. And I thought to myself, in my adult self, not when I was a kid, because I had no idea, but I was like, what happens if there was a portal in that house? And like you just said, this guy just stopped by to be like, hey, I'm going to check out this location. Oh, this looks kind of nice. I'm going to take a seat. And then I wake up at the moment that this thing decides to take a load off. And then maybe I made him feel awkward at that moment because he was like, I was just stepping through. I didn't want anything.
Pardon me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's so fun. I'm glad you brought up the portal because I was going to bring it up and then I was like, he's going to think I'm crazy. Because that was actually my first thought is if no one died there or something, tragic or big or whatever hadn't happened there, I do think that there are places that have portals like this. And I don't fully understand them. I'm not a portal expert by any means, but I have seen.
Are there actually portal experts?
Probably, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Someone's gotta be. Someone's gotta be. Not me. But I've read a lot of stories and there's this one gal I follow on TikTok, and I truly believe she has a portal in her house. And I've never actually, because it's so easy to be like, really, a portal? That sounds absolutely insane, like science fiction insane. But the amount of activity that she gets in this house is so wild and extreme. And it's in one area, one extremely small, concentrated area. And it's in a closet. And it just seems like it's running through. It seems like people running through. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I think that maybe it's possible. I don't know. Maybe people just come in, not people, you know what I mean? But spirits come in and they take a look around. They think, oh, I could stay, or I just head back into the, I don't know, realm of traveling souls. I don't know. It's really crazy to think about.
Please share this TikTok with me so that I can watch it at 9 o'clock in the morning and not anywhere near bedtime. But I'm dying to see this.
She does lives sometimes. Her name is Kitty K. Some people might know her name's Kitty K. And she does lives sometimes. And I know that she is not a scammy person, whatever, but she'll set up her camera overnight or whatever in this area, and people will just stay on this live watching her basement. And I mean, it's so crazy. I've been enthralled with it for hours at a time. And I'm like, Melissa, get your shit together. Sorry. I'm like, you're watching a woman's basement, but things are moving and she's asleep upstairs or something, or doing something else upstairs. It's so crazy. It's just... Well,
first of all, did you say her name was Kitty K? What was it?
Kitty K, yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
Kitty K.
I think I
have no words.
I have
no words.
If you can sleep while downstairs items are just being moved around the room, I don't think I could do that. I really don't. If I knew that I had this activity, no, I don't know.
No, light a match and rent an apartment. Like, walk the hell away. What is wrong with us?
I know. I don't know how she does it. Honest to God, I don't know how she does it. I think it's just something that I don't think you get used to it, I'm sure, but I think it's just something where you're like, I guess you can be like, leave me alone right now. I'm not doing this today or whatever, I don't know.
I'm not looking. I'm not looking. I'm not.
Yep, I'm just going about my day. I am not acknowledging this because if you acknowledge it, it gets worse. I don't know.
Right. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane.
So crazy.
Words.
Okay,
I was
Jamie.
going to say, too, I'm so sorry because I wrote this down while you were talking during your food for thought, and I have to say it before I forget. You started talking about the electronics thing, how their electronics are affected around you. And I don't know if you saw my face, but my eyes about popped out of my head because I have been saying that about myself for years and no one believed me. My husband's like, okay, Melissa, whatever, you're crazy, until he saw it happen repeatedly where I would walk into a room and whatever electronics were running would shut off. And he's like, what the hell?
So I don't know if this is in the realm of supernatural, but since we brought it up, I'm going to do a little segue because Jamie's here and Jamie can corroborate some of these. But
oh my God. Hang on to your hat.
So my entire life, an unimaginable amount of streetlights. When I'm driving in the car, they'll just go out. Streetlights just go off. And then when I when I get certain further away from them, they'll come back on. I sat underneath a clock watch that Jamie had. We were playing playing cards. I was visiting when we were younger, and that clock stopped working. And did it ever come back on? Did it ever start working again, Jamie, after we were playing?
I don't know. I don't know that I ever wanted to look at it again. Because you broke it. So supernaturally.
Threw it away.
Yeah. So then the weirdest one, and this is by far it's the funniest story. And you'd have to know. So Jamie's dad he's like a second dad to me growing up. He's awesome. He's very straight and narrow. He's very matter of fact. He's also, if you need help, I'm here to help you. But like he's a no frills kind of guy. Like, yep, what do you need? I'm here to help you. Okay, now leave me alone. Goodbye. And we were out at a local restaurant at the time. It was called Amigos, and we were getting some Mexican food. And we were in Jamie's car, and the car stopped working. Like she tried to turn it over, it was dead. Nothing was happening. It wasn't clicking. Nothing.
It was electrical because I was having problems with my alternator. Okay, I think that's valid to the story here. But
so Jamie's like, "Oh, I gotta call my dad." So again, love her dad, but last resort kind of a call, right? Like we don't have anywhere else. There's nowhere else we can turn. Right. So she makes the phone call to her dad and says, "Hey dad, my car is dead. I need you to come get me." So he's like, "Fine, let me get dressed. I'll be right there." Hangs up. A couple minutes pass and I'm totally joking. I'm like, I was like, cause Jamie knows I also can't wear watches usually because I drain them. So I can't usually have a watch that I can have on.
He's tried 100 ways from Sunday. Like
that
pocket watches,
crazy.
wrist watches, he ruins watches.
My batteries on my phone get drained. Anyways, really weird. So we're waiting, and I told Jamie, I said, Jamie, I'm going to put my hands on it and then go ahead and start it. I no more put my hands on the hood of her vehicle. Jamie goes and turns the key. And what happens, Jamie?
It started. The man laid hands on my car, and it started.
Now,
you are a battery. I mean, or the antithesis of a battery? I don't know. That's
my brother in his brotherly way calls me, he goes, "You're as close to a superhero as I've ever seen. We should call you Drano." So that was my he calls me Drano, and I'm like, "Thanks for that. I really appreciate it." But
battery, man.
Yeah, but I've even looked into it, Melissa, and I'm like, okay, there has to be a rational explanation for all of this. And the only thing I can get to, which is, again, I don't know if it's in the supernatural vein, but just to close this out, I don't mind sharing my blood type, but I have A negative. And so I was looking at what kind of A negative means. And you can go down a lot of rabbit holes. I'm not even claiming this is what I believe, but they're talking about the negative part of the blood. They really don't know where it comes from. It's not normal. Some say it's proof of an alien race that has come into contact with our society at some point.
What?
I don't believe that. I'm just saying.
I've heard that.
But I don't know if you've researched this, but they said there's something that they think's with the negative part of blood that could impact electrical devices. So
that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that. Have you, when you were doing your research, did you read about streetlight interference theory phenomena?
No, I haven't.
Because what
Wait
you're
a
saying
second.
is absolutely you.
What's it called? Street
It's
light.
called streetlight interference phenomena. And the people who are affected by this are called sliders, SLIders, sliders. And let me just really quick, because I know okay. Signs you may be a high energy electric person or a slider. Number 1, you can't wear watches as they are drained or stop working within a few hours of you wearing one. 2, you have issues with metals. 3, light bulbs and street lights are affected by you. This can be anything from fluctuating light to going out completely or bursting. 4, computers, cell phones, websites, and electronics in general are something you have major issues with. Freeze up, so on and so on. Which, I mean, that's you, am I right? I think you might be psychic.
Okay,
There's
now
more.
I don't want to hear anymore.
Do you have issues with storms? Do you feel charged up during storms? Do you get like your hair stands on end?
I would say to that, not so much. I mean, I don't know.
You're not standing
you're-
outside during a storm. Yeah.
Like it's like making me feel weird. Like there's a lot of the stuff that you're talking about that I'm like, check.
You get energized by storms, right? Like that was a whole thing.
I love storms. I'd go storm chasing. It like excites me.
It's always been that way.
Yeah,
yes,
always.
it's always been that way.
Seriously, I was just looking into this because I had looked it up myself and I'm like, okay, I know that I affect electronics, but it's not that extreme. Like I don't have problems with watches, just other types of electronics. But I literally just read this list and you like said the list without knowing. That's crazy.
You've been diagnosed, Mahlon.
I just diagnosed you. It's what I do. Yeah.
I'll be sending you my bill in the mail. You're welcome.
That'll be $500. No.
No, but I've never heard that. That's interesting. But okay, enough about me. I'm feeling really awkward. So Jamie, do you have a supernatural story or incident that you'd like to share?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, mine was not as a child. Mine was as an adult, which makes it harder to not feel a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But so most of my married life, I lived by myself for most of the week because the ex would leave and he would work out of town all week and then come home on the weekends. And so I was amazed at how brave I could be when I was home alone with my kids because I had to be brave, right? Well, one night, my dog was acting really, really weird. I had this Cocker Spaniel, and Cocker Spaniels are they're weird. They're weirdly obsessive about things. As a matter of fact, we had a foster baby. And when the foster baby went back home, I was super heartbroken. I had this baby from the time he was tiny until he was almost a year old when we sent him home. And so I closed the door to his room and never went in there. Like I never went in there. And my dog would like go sit at the door and stick his nose at the bottom of the door and like whine and cry. And I was like, oh, Murphy misses baby too, right? Well, one day I had to go in there for something. We were getting a new foster kiddo. So I needed to set it up for a new foster kiddo. Murphy comes in behind me, dives underneath the crib, and grabs his favorite toy that had literally been in there for probably 6 months. So this is my dog, right? He's just weirdly obsessive. So one night I got up and it was around 3-ish. Mm-hmm. After I had been watching
3:20.
After I'd been watching Paranormal State. I think it was like 3:14. But I don't remember for sure. It was a while ago. I went to the bathroom. And when I came out of my bedroom, the dog was like staring in the kitchen all weird, like just staring. And he used to do that all the time. No other space in the house, just the kitchen. He was staring. And just on the other side of the kitchen was the bathroom. And so I'm like, move, whatever. So I go to the bathroom and the door was super sticky and it was hard to open. So like I closed the door because I didn't want the dog to come in. And to pull this door open, you really had to pull. And when I went to leave the bathroom, I reached for the door handle and it flew open and hit my hand.
Nope.
So after that, The dog quit staring at the kitchen and the dog started sitting outside the bathroom and staring in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And
No.
I can't even tell you how many nights I'm like, and it was only at nighttime and it was only after the kids went to bed. And I'm sitting here all by myself in this house in the middle of nowhere where my brother has already told me that the M. Night Shyamalanian aliens are coming through the cornfield and the Sigourney
Great.
Weaver aliens are in the garage and the Orson Welles aliens are coming through. Yes, I'm
Then
already
who's in the
freaked out
bathroom?
because,
Oh my gosh.
because something's in the bathroom. And literally that's where the 320 thing started because I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. So
Okay,
it was super scary.
Jamie, you talked about lighting a match and walking away. I mean, come on. Why?
I know. No,
How did you stay in there by yourself night after night?
Because I was really hoping that the dog would just alert me. Like,
Yeah.
if there's really something here, Murphy, please just tell me.
And what do
Or
you think
maybe
he
it
was
was the dog.
doing? What do you think he was doing?
He's just staring. He just stares. You'll never know. He's just at the door staring. Oh my gosh. That is
That was
weird.
probably the creepiest thing. Well, and that you couple that with my son's experiences at that house. Like, to this day, he does not want the windows open because I used to have the windows open out there and he swears he heard people whispering outside of his window. And this is literally in the middle of nowhere. We were in
I
the
just
middle
got
of a
goosebumps
cornfield.
on the top of my head when you said that. People
Yeah,
whispering. That's what gives me goosebumps.
He
Ew.
said he saw someone walk past his window one night. And
Oh,
I can't
God.
even tell you, like, nobody was outside. Although, here's the thing. I always try to look for logical explanation. So even when that happened, I'm like, okay, the air conditioner wasn't on, the doors weren't open, like there wasn't a storm, it wasn't windy, it wasn't a pressure change, anything like that. But I used to stand outside out there because you'd get the best view of the stars. There was no light pollution. It was literally smack dab in the middle of a cornfield. But I used to sit outside and hear what sounded like little kids screaming in the cornfields, right?
Children of the corn. No.
Literally, I'm just like, oh my God,
and
is
wait a
something
minute.
going wrong?
And Jamie's still like, if only there was a sign, something that would tell me that this isn't a safe place. As children are screaming for help in the cornfield, she's like, anything. If there was just something.
Here's the thing though, like I asked the neighbors about it. I asked the landlord about it. I'm like, okay, have you heard this before? And they're all just like, no, we don't have any idea what you're talking about, right?
Oh, good.
So then I find out, I don't even know what happened. I was scrolling YouTube or something, and there was a bullfrog, and bullfrogs sound like screaming children.
Oh my
There were
gosh.
bullfrogs in the. So fast forward the same summer. Okay, this summer was hell for me. The same summer, all of a sudden there's this blue light that starts floating over the cornfield all across the road, and I'm like,
What?
where did the blue light come from? I don't even know. And the corn was tall. When they cut down the corn, there was a brand new pivot with a blue light on the end.
Oh my gosh.
So all summer long, I was terrified of this thing because it would move from place to place to place. I had no idea there were lights on the end of a corn, like on the end of a pivot. I had no
Never heard
idea.
of that either.
So you tell me, was it a real thing or was my imagination just going a little cuckoo in the
Well,
in the cornfield because it's a little creepy out there?
I had to
cornfields
pause.
are really creepy.
Yeah, I had to pause myself. I'm dying, like between the frogs and the pivot. I'm like, that is too good.
Oh my god.
Don't forget the aliens because
But-
literally my brother's standing outside saying, "Do you see that garage? It kind of looks like that movie in Signs."
Like, shut up.
Can't you see it happening? And then after that, I couldn't unsee it. Every time I was taking the trash out, I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, and so I know you're a logical person, Jamie. But how do you explain the bathroom? The bathroom.
Yeah, I was going to say the bathroom is a different story.
because I was at that house that you're talking about, and it is in the middle of nowhere, and it is creepy as all get out. I'm sorry. I went there and I'm like, yep, I'm visiting my friend. We went from the car to the house as fast as we could, and then we stayed our time, and then we got from the house to the car and left. And you ever drive down a road where you're like, if there is ever something that is in the darkness that's going to get you, it was on that stretch of road from Jamie's front door to the paved road until you get to the main highway. And if I was you sitting on the porch hearing what I thought were, even if it turns out to be bullfrogs, kids screaming, the door in the bathroom, you have dogs acting up, I'm out. Pull a ripcord, I'm done.
I can't even tell you. I did that for probably, I don't know, how long did I live out there? 10 years or something like that? 12 years? No. Yeah, probably 12 years. I lived out there for 12 years. And it was constantly creepy. But thankfully, there was enough of those things that I could explain away, like that were logical, that made sense eventually. I never did figure out where they were hiding the M. Night Shyamalan aliens, but I could figure the rest of it out okay, except for the bathroom. That is probably the one thing that still kind of creeps me out and haunts me is that bathroom that night. I mean, and it wasn't like it just tapped my hand or that, because I thought at first I'm like, oh, well, Murphy, Murphy tried to get in or something, right? But it was such a hard, it was hard and it hurt my hand. Oh. So it was intentional. It was creepy.
Like, I see you and I'm going to show you that I see you. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh. Yes. And it's about you. Like,
yep.
What?
Yeah, you right in front of me.
At least mine just watched me. Yours almost assaulted you.
Yeah, it tried to touch you.
Yeah.
And I'm a hard sleeper. Like nothing wakes me up. I'm not easily awoken. And so I'm like, what did I miss? Like, what was happening in that house that I didn't experience because I was actually asleep?
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Okay, Melissa, do you have one? Do you have something that you can share?
Gosh, mine sounds super lame compared to you guys. You guys, so mine are more like little things that are just strange that I also try to explain away, because I think you should try to explain things. Obviously, you shouldn't just go straight to, oh, it's a ghost, because you're going to drive yourself crazy. There's things that happen all the time that can be explained if you care to search for the explanation, of course. But there are some things that are just like, you can't really explain it. And a lot of them, in my life at least, because I have 3 kids, are creepy kid things. You know, when kids will say things and you're just kind of like, where'd you hear that? Where'd you see that? Or what are you talking about? You know?
Give us some examples. I'm dying to hear examples. Give me more.
Okay.
Mommy, the man in the closet says hi. What'd you say? What was
that? Yeah, stuff like that. And you're like, what? Yeah. So I teach dance and fitness classes. And a few years ago, this was maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I taught at this, one of my friends' studios. And she had bought this really old building that had been transformed into a fitness studio, basically like a dance studio. It was really old. I want to say it was built in I don't know, the 1900s maybe. And it was 2 levels and it was all wood floors, tall ceilings, a studio on both levels, but it was kind of open still. Both were still kind of open. It was weird. But every time I walked in there, and of course I would show up before everyone else. I had a key to the place and it was only one class at a time. It wasn't like a gym where there's people around all the time. And so I walk in, and every time I walk in, I'm just like, someone here? You know, you get the feeling like someone's there already. I never get that feeling anywhere. I'll walk into a place and I'm like, no one's here. This is an empty place. But this was like, people are here. I always would do a lap of the entire building to see. And I'm like, okay, this is creepy. So, but whatever, I would ignore it. Well, I brought my 4-year-old with me, my youngest, when she was 4. And I was upstairs in the big studio, just getting out all the equipment and everything, getting ready. And she was just kind of running around, running up and down the stairs. And she runs up and she goes, Mom, where did that girl go? And I'm like,
I can't.
Yeah. I'm like, there's what girl? And she's like, that girl downstairs. And I'm like, oh God. I felt my stomach drop, because I had already checked. I knew no one was here. And if she's talking about a girl, that means a child, right? To most people. And I was like, can you tell me more about this girl? And
Please don't.
Yeah. Tell me she's just a figment of your imagination.
she's like, yeah, I was talking to the girl. And I'm like, oh, Lord, have mercy. And so I'm like, oh, well, I don't see her anymore. She must have left. I'm trying to be like logical with her about it because she doesn't know. I'm not going to say, oh my God, she's not real. I think you were talking to a ghost. But so I find out later, I kind of went about my day, whatever, still thinking, well, I find out later that the place used to be a schoolhouse.
Oh.
Okay. And yeah,
Nope.
like one of those small little, like maybe 1 or 2 room schoolhouses. And I was like, oh my God, there were kids in here all the time. This is like, I'm getting creeped out just thinking about it. And whenever I would teach in there, when I would be in the studio part, there were windows that opened up to the lobby and the door, the front door. And whenever I was teaching, I kept finding myself looking in that area. And I'm like, why do I keep looking over there? I thought I was just crazy. But then I talked to my friend, the owner, and I was like, hey, because she's one of those gals who I'm like, I could talk weird with her. You feel them out. And I was like, do you find yourself looking in that area a lot when you're teaching, or am I going crazy? She's like, yeah, I think I see things moving there all the time. And I'll look probably 15 times during my class and nothing's there. I'm like, yeah, oh no, uh-oh. I'm like, I think your building's, and I didn't tell her about the girl though.
Oh.
Oops.
I almost think that's creepier than seeing it firsthand. Having your child, who knows? Yeah. There's no ulterior motive, and then it's not you. Oh, I can rationalize that in my brain because I must have just been seeing things, or I saw that movie last night. But when you have a child that comes to you with that innocent look in their eye to go, "Mommy, have you seen the child I was playing with?" I'm sorry. You grab the kid and you get out of there. Like, that is horrifying.
I know.
Going home now.
And it was so sweet. Like, where'd that girl go? And I'm thinking like, oh no, should I be like really protective right now? Like, leave my kid alone, you. Or should I just be like, oh, that sounds fun. What were you playing? Because there's toys and balls and stuff down there. And I forgot this part. So I have this, I have these apps on my phone because I'm crazy like that. The Spirit Box app that
oh God,
you can ask
I knew
questions.
you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Oh no.
I've done it at my own house before, and it kind of was just like, no, nothing big, because I don't think my house is haunted. I've had some weird things, but I cleanse it, whatever. So I take it after my class. There were no other classes, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. Okay. So I go down to that studio basement, and I start asking questions. I get girl, the word girl. I get like laughter, haha. And I'm like, okay, I've had enough now. I'm gonna see ya. I'll check you later.
Tell me you took someone with you.
No, I'm by myself.
No, don't do that stuff alone.
I know.
That stuff is not to be done by yourself. This is not okay.
I know.
Strength in numbers.
I don't get scared. My curiosity takes over so hard. And I'm just like, I want to do it right now. I know.
She's like, Melissa's like, I know this is an abandoned building that used to be on a schoolyard that's now turned into a cemetery, but now feels like a right time. Like, I feel like right now is the good point.
I'm curious. I'm silly goofy. Let's try this. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so
I did it once in my house too. I do not recommend doing it in your own house, in your own space, in your own bedroom, because I did it one time because I was bored, right? Why was I bored? I don't know. I was probably avoiding something. I was probably procrastinating. And I'm in my room, and I have this other one that's like a different kind of spirit box where it goes through the channels.
Oh,
have you
the channel?
Seen that on your ghost shows?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I had used it a bunch and I hadn't gotten anything. And I'm like, this thing's a piece of crap. It doesn't work. This is a joke. It's a scam. For hours, I probably played this thing with nothing big happening. I'm sitting here on my bed back here behind me. I hear a man's voice on this thing go, hello? And I'm like, okay, that one got me. I'm out of here. This is my room.
Light a match. Light a match.
Hello.
I thought you were going to say there, like you're listening to it and all of a sudden it comes across, we live here now. Because I'm done. Like if I hear those words, like I'm out.
This is our house now.
Yeah. And then they go, ha, ha, ha. No, I'm done. So Jamie, do you remember when we went on a ghost hunt and they had all those different things?
Yes.
Okay, so
That happened after the scariness at my house happened, just so you're aware.
well, yeah, because you were seasoned by then. You were like, I don't care. A poltergeist could come out of my mouth, and I'd be like, whatever.
Sure.
I live in my house in the forest, or the.
Sure.
You're the one
garden.
with the poltergeist attached. Remember, let's get this
I need
straight.
to hear about this poltergeist, Mahlon.
No, she's trying to manifest one, I think, because there is no poltergeist. And if they had one, Jamie, it lives in the basement on the couch that you're crashing on. So, joke's on you.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Full circle. Dang it.
Driving back home tonight.
So Jamie and I go and do this I've always wanted to do a ghost hunt, and I want to do another one because again, paranormal, supernatural stuff. Just I'm so fascinated, and I can get really sucked in. So I got to be careful. But Jamie's like, "Hey, do you want to come do this ghost hunt?" And so we're like, "Sure." So there's a town where we went to college. It's in the middle of Nebraska. There's a town called Minden, and they have a what do you call it? It's like it's not an antique shop, but it's like a museum. And it has all of these old cars. It has old buildings, old artifacts that are found across the country while it was being settled. So it tells
dresses,
aircrafts, hairbrushes,
crazy.
Wow.
old
buildings.
Yeah.
Building after building after building.
Unbelievable. Whoa. So they're doing a paranormal ghost hunt there. So Jamie and I go, and we do I don't know what it's called. Maybe you do, JB, but they do the light spectrum that throws the dots everywhere so you can see if there's movement within there. They did the spirit box, which that was creepy as all get out. Like I was scared because they turned the box on, and I'm like, I'm out, pull the ripcord. But the strangest thing that happened to me, and nobody believed me, and Jamie, I don't know if you remember this, but it was getting towards the end of our ghost hunt, and we were in the main building. And we were sitting there, and it felt like my entire body got electrified. Like it felt like from my shoulders all the way down to my feet, it felt like a low voltage of electricity was running through me. And the best way I can describe it is it felt like I was crackling, if that makes sense. And I was trying to tell people, but I was also trying to not seem like I was the freak that was like, oh, I went on this ghost hunt and look what's happening to me. So I'm trying to tell people around me. But nothing. It was not very eventful the whole night until that moment. And I'm like, I don't know if that was my imagination. It didn't feel like an imagination. It was physically happening to me. But it lasted maybe 30, 45 seconds, and then it was over. It was done. So,
the best part of that night, though, Mahlon, do you remember? They had this one. So it was like a hallway, and they had all these different, almost like dioramas, but they were like life-size dioramas, right? So it was creepy,
With mannequins
creepy.
and stuff.
Yes, mannequin, and it was all glass, and it was all dark, and they had cut all the electricity to the building, so there's no air conditioning, there was nothing, and it was this wall of glass with the mannequins. And do you remember how they put the flashlights on either side, and then started saying like, if you're here, shut off the flashlights? Mahlon's like cowering in the corner, like, keep me away from the flashlights because
you'll make them turn off. So you have to be far away from them.
Because I was like, oh, you just want them to shut off? I just snap my fingers. I'm like, they're done. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You're like, who?
Then they had a hotel that we got to stay at after it was all done. And I swear to goodness, the girls from The Shining were at the end of the hall.
It was like 1960 built it, and then they forgot about it. It was never updated, and there was times, Melissa, it felt more haunted and scary in that hotel than we did the entire night.
We had more paranormal experiences in that hotel, just in our gut feelings.
Yeah, it was.
They should have
weird.
the ghost hunt at the hotel. Oh my gosh. Well, I was thinking, Mahlon, you might be you were feeling that electricity kind of static thing, and we already know you're a slider. Maybe you're a kind of you're like a ghost detection device yourself. Have you ever thought about that?
I'm going to go ahead and forget that you even said that. In fact, we're going to probably edit that.
He's
whole part
leaving.
out.
He's leaving. He's like, no,
I'm shutting everything down.
This is recorded
really cool.
forever, Mahlon.
That's so cool. I'm sorry. I think that's incredible. And come on, you got to hone that. You gotta own that.
Yes, if only.
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it and hone
it. Uh-huh.
Well, I have one more thing that I wanted to touch on with the whole supernatural, because again, I'm not proud of this, because again, with my Christian faith, this is something that I was messing with that I should have not have messed with. But I played on a Ouija board before, and you hear things like the placard moves and you're like, okay, somebody else is touching it. You guys all swear no. Well, I was like, okay, if we're going to play this, I want to know if this is real. So the person that I was playing with, the placard was going, and we said, okay, if somebody's here with us, move the light above our head. No more did the words leave the mouth that all of a sudden the light fixture started swaying. Like,
no way.
Yeah, like not tremble, not a car just drove by. There was no train in the area because we lived out by. It started swinging. Like, it was stationary. As soon as the words left our mouth, it started swinging.
No way.
Here's the creepy part. We said, now make it stop. And just as much as it was swinging, it went.
Shut up. Nope.
And froze.
Stop.
It froze.
No way.
First of all, Mahlon, I have to know, where was I?
You already moved. Like, this was like junior, almost senior year of high school. So you had already left and moved away.
I was going to say that is an experience we should have had together.
You missed out. Yeah.
But
that is crazy.
But I vowed from that point on. In fact, I even prayed. I was like, dear God, if I ever have the idea that I want to play with a Ouija board again, make it so it never works for me. Like, if I put my hands on it, I want it to be dead. Like, I don't ever want it to move again. And it was so weird. I told the person, I said, I don't want anything to do with this. This was a mistake. Get rid of the board. We threw it away. And I was like, done. Because what got me more than anything, I could rationalize in my brain that it started swinging because vibrations happen. What I can't rationalize is how it just stopped. Like, I didn't slow down. It stopped.
Nope. Yep. No. No, that is crazy. That is absolutely a light swinging at all. I don't even care if there is a train going by. That's crazy. And especially after you literally just said it. No, that's wild. Oh.
Logically, that doesn't make sense. Now, Melissa, have you used a Ouija board before?
I have. So I was just thinking about this last night, and I don't recall anything ever really happening, but I do know that I found my mother's Ouija board from the 1960s. And my mom, like, we grew up really religious too. She grew up in a really strict Catholic household. So I just know when she bought this, she was probably a teenager and she probably had to hide it. I think she said she definitely had to hide it from her parents. And so when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, Mom has a Ouija board. This is crazy and so creepy. Well, we played it a few times. I think I even played it by myself and nothing happened. But I had that Ouija board under my bed probably my entire childhood till I moved out of the house. And I think back now and I'm like, what the hell was I doing? But nothing ever happened. I think, I don't know. Nothing that I can remember. You know, when you get together with a bunch of friends and a bunch of girls, everyone just kind of freaks out and nothing really happens. But I'm like, did we know at that time that it was imperative that you say goodbye before you finish? Because I don't think we did. Yeah, so that's definitely a rule. Am I right? You have to. So I haven't played it in so long. But first of all,
is there a Ouija rule book somewhere?
I don't know if it's official, but
supposedly what I've always heard growing up too was and is that you start it by saying hello and then you ask it questions, and then when you're done, and I've heard, I don't know about you, Melissa, but I've heard some practices where you're supposed to light a candle and say hello, and then you're supposed to say goodbye and then you blow the candle out, but definitely you're supposed to say hello and goodbye. Now, this is where I struggle because I'm like, we're talking supernatural here. Like, they can come between the physical the realm and the spiritual realm. If we don't say goodbye, I mean, to me, it feels like what a supernatural handcuff gets put on them. You know, that's where I struggle with to say, if you can really transcend dimensional rifts if I don't say goodbye to you on a plastic Mattel Ouija board, and that's that's the one that handcuffs you. But I have heard that before. I have said, I will say that.
Or if I say goodbye, that's going to magically make it so that you can't come back or whatever. Yeah, I know. I don't know if that's just about the ritual. Like a lot of people are very much into the ritual, and the ritual has to be set this way or it's going to go wrong or whatever. But, I don't know. I don't know that it's true. I mean, I definitely played it by myself, which you're not supposed to do. And I definitely didn't say goodbye. I don't feel haunted or like I'm being followed. No, just look at me.
Oh, by the way,
by myself would not happen. Sorry.
By the way, Melissa, your bedroom is like beds floating around the room, and you're like, no, I feel perfectly safe here.
I played Ouija board one time, and here's the funny thing about the whole thing. This one time at band camp,
oh my God.
We were having a party at someone's house, and someone brought a Ouija board along with their tarot cards. And so we were doing a whole spooky thing after, it wasn't actually band camp, but it was like an after competition party kind of thing. And I don't know if anything actually happened, but I know that there was so much hysteria in that room with all of the girls that something must have happened. And the next thing I know, this girl is like, who apparently is like some sort of expert. She was like a freshman. She runs around the house and says, I need a Bible and a cross. I need a Bible and a cross. And she puts the Ouija board on its front and slams the Bible on it and starts patting it and chanting something. And at that point, I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I's gots to go.
Oh my gosh. She's got the cross that you open up in the back with the holy water and the scroll. Oh my gosh.
Well, and she's not religious at all. So we had to find a Bible somewhere. But I'm just like, at that point, I was afraid she was possessed. That was more paranormal of an experience was what was happening in her than anything else.
Oh my God. It's literally just me. No. I wouldn't. Oh my gosh.
It was great. It was great.
So funny. On this vein, and again, I don't do this, but have you ever heard, Melissa, how you can make yourself, I don't want to call it a makeshift Ouija board, but it's supposed to be a way for you to communicate if you don't have anything with you? Have you ever heard? So a friend of mine did this when I was in school, like when I was in high school. But apparently, like if you have a house or if you have a place where, and his grandmother passed away in the house he was living in. And so supposedly if you take a chain or you take a string and you put the house key of that person and you put it inside a glass and you tie it to your two, like your thumb and your pinky, and you set it inside the glass until it's perfectly still. If you ask questions, yes or no questions, it's supposed to start swinging and tap the glass. Like if you ask it a yes question, it's 1 tap for yes, 2 taps for no. Well, you can also do it with like personal effects. That just to me seems like it'd be way creepier than even, and I think a Ouija board itself is creepy, but I think taking like a personal artifact of someone who's either died or died in a location and using that to do something would be really, that just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, that is creepy. I'm a little bit more skeptical about that one. Like for the one time I'm skeptical about something because I really truly feel like if something is being controlled by your hand, I do think that micro movements, and you really want it to happen. You want this to be true. So you're going to, not knowingly, probably subconsciously, but your hand is always kind of moving,
Right.
It's little shaking things. So I wonder if that has a lot to do with that movement. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with the planchette on a Ouija board too, because it's not that you're pushing it, but there is energy behind it from your own hands. So it's like, is that what's moving it? But then how is it spelling things? See, I feel like that was kind of my experience where it would move and we'd be like, oh my gosh, but it never actually spelled anything. And I'm like, okay, so is this ghost just a dumbass or are we, So I don't know. That's...
Tell me your name. It's sure bizarre.
like, oh, it must be another language. It's Latin. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was another language.
You really want to believe so hard. I know. I go back
yes.
and forth between that being a skeptic and like truly wanting to believe the most insane paranormal thing possible. But it's hard being there in the middle.
Yeah, well, and I again, a lot of I fall right in line with you because there's some things we've talked about that I'm like, okay, I can probably rationalize a lot of those away. You know, you're talking about I'm possibly a slider. I have to giggle because I'm like, there's like whatever. There's no way. Like there's skeptics.
It sounds insane.
Yeah,
I know.
But it's still just so fun to talk about, and that's where I fall. Like even if I'm a skeptic, it's still fun to kind of talk about and hear other people's stories. So I love the fact that we were just kind of airing some of those supernatural things because it's entertaining and it's fun to listen to, and it makes me not feel like I'm an absolute nut job, right? Like, oh, okay, well, everybody's had a little bit of that, so that makes me feel a little bit more normal about it. So that's fun.
The same. It was the same even with the investigation we went and did. I mean, I can't remember how much money we spent to go do this. Did I walk away believing that ghosts are real and I saw and encountered or interacted with something from another spirit world? Absolutely not. Did I have one of the most adventurous evenings of my life with my best friend? Absolutely. You know what I mean? It was just a good time, and it was fun to put my imagination in that space and think outside of the norm and do something different. And so I love that about this topic specifically.
And I think we were so sleep deprived, Jamie. We probably had more fun and laughed when we got back to the hotel than we did anywhere else because we were like, I mean, the hallway was just creepy as all get out. It was
You're
just like,
what is this?
Yes, it was. To your point, Melissa, it should have been on the tour. Like, nobody died here. There's been no activity, but just look at this. Like, this is horrifying.
If someone was going to be murdered, it's going to be in this hallway.
It's right here. I can see it now.
Ambiance.
Oh, it's funny. Well, Melissa, I think, we'll probably start wrapping it up. It was such a pleasure to have you on. And again, thank you for coming. Tell your sister, Steph, that we said hello. For everyone listening, please check out their podcast. It's Weirdsdale. And Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast before we end?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's my sister and I, and my sister's name is Stephanie, and I'm the older sister. So of course I'm the one that's like blah 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 blah. Well, she listens. She's really a good sister that way. She is a little bit more of a skeptic than I am. So our conversations kind of go like this. I do all the research on this weird, crazy, scary thing, and I tell her all about it. I like to surprise her. I don't tell her the topic beforehand at all. So everything you hear is her true, genuine horror and disgust. So, it's just that. And then her getting really freaked out and scared and basically her being like, nope, I hate it. And it's just, like I said before, I try to go back and forth between true crime and paranormal. I just feel like, true crime for me, it's hard to talk about, but I like to challenge myself in that way. And I also think it's really important to talk about, but I don't want it to be pure true crime because I feel like it gets to be so just sad. And my personality is, everything is silly, everything's a joke, everything's funny. And so I have to break it up with the stuff that I just love to talk about, the paranormal, the cryptids. Like I said, black-eyed children. What is that? Why does this thing even exist to talk about? It's just so fun. And I really love to freak my sister out. I just love it. So that's what we do.
It's fun to hear you freak your sister out. I love it when you're in the middle of a story and you just hear her go, nope.
Yep. She's like, nope, I hate that. Hate that.
Oh, that's funny.
Fantastic.
I think it's genuine. I think that's probably what a lot of people are thinking. I mean, a lot of people are reacting the same way, like, no, but it's almost like you can't stop listening, even though you're horrified and don't really want to hear more, but you must. Like, that's what it is.
It's like, stop it. Tell me more. I want to hear more.
Yeah, exactly. I hate it. And tell me more.
And when does your episodes drop? You normally release on...
So normally they come out on Thursdays. Every once in a while we'll do a little, Friday one instead, just to give me more time. We're busy moms, so it's like whatever I'm struggling sometimes, you know what I mean? That's another thing too, is that we're pretty honest on there about life too. We always talk about like being a mom, being a wife, trying to make it through all these challenges that life throws at us sometimes. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. And I think that people appreciate that too. So sometimes I'm just like, well, guys, it came out a day late. Sorry. That's what happens.
Oh, we've experienced that, haven't we, Jamie? We're like,
It's real life.
yeah,
Yep.
That's real life.
Yeah.
So
we will
Thursdays, mostly.
Yeah, perfect. And we will make sure that in our show notes, we have a link to your podcast. I'm assuming it's on all podcast, like main podcasting platforms. Is that true? Okay.
Yes, it is.
And then do you have any other social media links that you're on, TikTok or Facebook, anything like that?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, and I think it's just Weirdsdale Podcast on Facebook. And then on Instagram, we are Weirdsdale Podcast. And I post everything there. I do things kind of 3 weeks at a time. I'm posting videos from last week. I'm posting sneak peeks for the next week, and I'm posting current, pictures and things that we are talking about on the episode this week. So it's like constant, every day something. And then on TikTok, gosh, I think it's Weirdsdale Pod. I might have to double check that, but we post some things that we are talking about on our podcast. And sometimes it's just me being a silly whatever. So it's fun.
Well, we will definitely get those links out there for you too. And I would encourage anybody listening, if you're looking for something weird, you're looking for something that's going to be a little entertaining, a little off the beaten path, I would give Weirdsdale a try. I have grown to really find this podcast very endearing to me. I love the conversation. I love the banter between you and your sister. And it's a good time. And it's kind of one of those ones that are light, where most of the time I can just enjoy it. To your point, when you get into the true crime, there's some of that stuff that you have to work through, and you hear some of these stories and you're just like, oh my goodness. But I do like how you kind of break that up a little bit and you interject it. So it's not just one story after another that you're just like, okay, enough. So I do appreciate that.
I have to give myself a break. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if anybody's listening and you're wanting to kind of try it out, I would highly recommend. So thanks again for coming.
Be a weirdster.
Yeah, you can be a weirdster with us.
I am a weirdster. I am. I've already have it on my list. I'm already an active listener, and I'm there. So I am a weirdster.
Melissa, you now know what to do for merch.
Yeah,
just saying.
Weirdster koozies, Weirdster. But yeah, no, we need to get on it. Mm-hmm.
Count me a weirdster.
Yes, Jamie's a weirdster too. Yeah, see, and even if she's a reluctant weirdster, that's fine. I'll take it.
I'm probably more like a Stephanie weirdster.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. She would love that.
Well, again, awesome. Thank you very much for coming on, and it was a pleasure. And we will talk to you again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode was recorded and edited by Mahlon and Jamie. Music was Whack-A-Lantern by Ender.
If you want to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the app formerly known as Twitter, just by searching Roundtable Mindset Podcast. If you want to email us, our email address is roundtablemindset@gmail.com, or you can call us at 402-819-8999. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time at the Roundtable.